And welcome, listeners, to the World of Dragons. I am Dilitan. With me is the host, Ray. He is going to be interviewing me today. Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Vacation starting in a couple days, so after recording this, I'm going to be scrambling to get it edited, but it should hopefully be out at the normal time. Luckily, our hosting service does a scheduled upload, where I can basically give them the file and be like, hey, upload this at this time, and they'll take care of it for me. Since I will be out of town during the normal uploading hour.
Yeah, he's going to be in my town.
Yeah, well, 2 hours out from your town.
Close enough.
Because of the vacation, we're taking a break from normal reviewing material. We will be returning with that next episode. But for now, this was going to be Dilitan's solo episode, like how I had a solo episode a while back. But he had a lot of difficulty with that. His attempt he sent me was, no offense, but laughable. And so I'm going to help him out by practicing my interview skills, because hopefully one day we can interview an author or something. That'd be amazing. But we'll basically be practicing an interview format. So, Dilitan?
Yes.
Bit of deja vu, but do you want to tell us about your name again? Does it mean anything from your world, your lore, your language?
Funny enough, the original name for Dilitan was Illidan. I was a very big fan of Warcraft 3, so I took Illidan, and that's what I used for several years before finally deciding to combine it with another old character of mine who does not exist in the lore anymore, Dilitan, Ditan, and I combined those two to form Dilitan. Redome himself does not have any actual meaning. That was just one thing that I thought of one day. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of nice, and slapped it on.
Sounds Italian. Sounds like a pasta. Yeah, so listeners, we were recording and I realized my computer was doing the wrong microphone, so all of my volume levels were super low. Luckily, we picked it up 10 minutes in, but this opening is take two, so we got a couple of inside jokes, and I'm sorry, but you'll never understand.
Yeah, I said before that I thought of the name of my mom was making pasta one day, and I just kept throwing Italian sounding words here and there until Redome came up, and I stuck it on.
So what would you say was the percentage chance you could have been named Mario or Luigi?
0.
Linguini.
Actually, you know what? Linguini might have happened. It could have been Latini or something.
Latini Redome.
Honestly, as long as you take out the soft sounding vowels and replace it with more hard, like the T's, I bet
yes, because everybody knows that Draconic has nothing but R's, T's, and S's, right?
Pretty much.
Quick, Dilitan, speak Draconic right now.
Rar. Boom.
I was expecting a Fuso dog because that's technically Draconic.
Oh, come on, I'm not that lame.
No, you just Rar instead.
I'm still lame, but not that lame.
No, I'm going to tell you to speak Draconic, and then you're going to just start speaking like the T-Rex from Meet the Robinsons.
I've never seen that movie.
What? It has a T-Rex in it. How could you not have watched it?
Because I had a very sheltered childhood. Most of my time was spent in front of the PS2. My mom would give me one game for a month, and that was it. We never really had movie time.
Somewhere in the universe, I can hear Bantam screaming.
Probably. Yeah, for our listeners, me and Bantam have been constructing this list of all the movies I haven't seen, and it has reached 10 pages at this point. Every time Bantam has asked me if I've seen this movie, the answer has always been no, and it has been growing ever since.
Have you seen The Little Mermaid?
Probably, but I can't remember it.
Then you are truly lost.
I have seen The Land Before Time. That counts for something.
Just the first one, or all of them?
All of them.
Oh my goodness.
My mom bought me every single one of them. VHS.
To be fair, I actually did enjoy the post-first Land Before Times. I grew up with them.
Right.
So nostalgia. Looking back, though, some of it is a little weird, but it's okay for kids. That first one, though.
Oh, yeah. I was too young to understand the emotions behind it, but now, oof.
Mommy, why are the dinosaurs dying?
No, they just slept for a long time.
Right, so, Dilitan.
Yes.
On my own solo episode, I spent most of the time talking about the show, how I came up with its concept, pitched it to you guys, and then basically my hopes and dreams for it. Do you have any hopes and dreams for the show? Anything you're excited about? Do you hope comes to pass?
Let me think about it. I'm trying to think of like a. You know what a good milestone for us would be, though, is if we actually do manage to get an interview of someone from one of the games or books we've reviewed before, get them on the show. If we do that, man, that'd be one hell of a milestone.
Yeah, I have spoken with the creator of the Mystery of Caketropolis game, as well as the author of the Lazy Scales book series. The biggest hurdle to interviewing, like I haven't really pitched it to them, because we need to figure out a decent recording time rather than 4 a.m. before we try and get someone.
We can always do 5 a.m.
I mean, probably not in the morning, ever, is probably the point. But I guess worst case would be that we would do it more or less during your sleeping time, sadly.
Or we could do it in the afternoon or the evening.
Possibly. Yeah, we'll have to play around with it, not on the air.
Yeah.
But you're having fun with the show still, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I've been learning a lot. I've enjoyed the worlds we've been exploring, especially Tooth and Claw. That's currently one of my top.
Yeah, which I am very proud of, considering how against reading you and Balitan.
Okay.
you and Bantam were.
So I want to defend my stance on that one. I am not against reading. I'm not more so against audiobooks. It's just that as far as entertainment goes, they're very low on the list. Like, I'd rather, watch a movie or have a TV show in the background or a podcast rather than something as lengthy as Age of Fire, for instance.
Oh, did you not enjoy Age of Fire?
No, I enjoyed Age of Fire, though I will admit it did get kind of taxing with the length of the books. Although I know what you're going to say, I did push it to the very last minute and read the entire thing in 2 days.
Yeah,
so exactly. That's on me.
You could do an hour a day for the 2 weeks, I grant you, and have the easiest time of it. But no, you got to do it all at once.
You and I both know my memory cannot retain that over that long of a distance.
I mean, that was the point of the Google Docs I used to set up where we would take notes, but no one's been using the last couple, so I stopped doing it. I
actually was listening to the last book while I was driving my route, so I can't exactly drive and write at the same time. There was points with Tooth and Claw where I was like, damn it, I wish I could listen to bullet point, but part of my route's in a dead zone, so I can't even use my phone or anything.
I mean, you could use your phone in a dead zone, you just can't use the internet, so just open up a notepad program on your phone.
Oh. I guess we could have done that.
Poor technologically impaired dragon. And you're the one out of the two of us that had the more tech-savvy world, right? Mine was more magic-focused.
I mean, tech is in, borderline steampunk. They're not exactly flying spaceships and shooting lasers or anything.
So have you considered the good old-fashioned pen and paper?
Dude, screw pen and paper. Typewriter all the way.
Just carry a typewriter in your passenger seat and just be like, stop, gotta take a note. All right, good to know that you're still on board of the show. You're not getting burned out. That pleases me. I was a little concerned when I pitched Age of Fire, because I'm like, nope, sorry guys, we gotta do 3 books all at once. Sadly, it's gonna happen again at some point. There are several series that I think are better in chunks, but that's why I'm relinquishing control for a bit to let you guys pick our next couple episodes.
Honestly, I probably would have got burnt out if we stuck to the original 1 book a week schedule. That would have killed me. I
mean, that was way back when we were doing book club before the podcast was a thing.
Didn't we do book club every other week or just once a week?
I think both. I think it started... Okay, so the first book was once a week because we read the first book over the course of a month, and we would meet together, what do you think about part 1, chapters 1 through 15, and then next week we'd come back for the second part, and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
After the first book, we switched to every other week and just did the books all at once because they're not that long of books, and so trying to talk about just 12 chapters was difficult.
It was difficult for you because you've already read the entire series and were eager to get it all out.
It was difficult for me in the sense that I felt like, because everyone was putting time aside to meet together in the middle of the day, I felt like to make it worth it, it had to be at least an hour or so of us being together talking about it, not get together for 10 minutes and then boom, done.
Yeah.
And it felt difficult trying to talk about such a little bit of information over the course of an hour or longer. It's kind of the same reason why I'm apprehensive to do single movies on the podcast, because we did it with Wish Dragon, and honestly, Wish Dragon to me felt a little Like we were trying to stretch it out at certain points.
So I got a theory about that. Our podcast is designed to explore the worlds that have dragons in it. If it's just a normal world with one magical dragon, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about. That was a problem with Wish Dragon.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So don't hold it against us. It didn't really fit our structure that well.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a good movie, though.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start doing a segment, like first 10 minutes of every episode. We're like, shout out to Minor Dragon number 37, the whatever his name was, the boss that was a surprisingly well-rendered dragon from the Mario Odyssey game.
Yeah, see, that's actually something I was going to do at the end of this episode. Have the Dragon of the Week to bring
Dragon
up.
of the Week could be fun.
Yeah, let's talk stuff that don't really have much screen time, like say Smog or. That's really the only one I have right now.
That's the only one you're in love with right now.
Shush.
Dragon from the Pagemaster. I know you liked that. And I know exactly why you liked that.
He was big, powerful. Gotta respect that.
And he ate the kid.
Gotta respect that.
So I guess on the topic of, Dragon of the Week, are there any particular movies, books, games, whatever, that you are eager to do on the show? I was sitting on a little gold pile worth of dragon novels and such, which is why I shared a bunch of them with the listeners at the end of my solo episode. Are there any that you're sitting on that you're eager to share with the group?
There was one very obscure book I read in high school while I was in North Carolina, and I actually managed to find it, but it took me absolute weeks combing through Amazon. It was something I read a long time ago. It's, I think it was called an anti-romance. It's called The Truth About Dragons. And basically, the plot being is that the dragons they went into hiding and the world advanced around them to the point where modern times, but nobody actually believes dragons are still alive. So every time they see him, they think he's some sort of giant, warm furnace or a piece of housing on whatever. It's just a whole bunch of silliness, and I loved it.
They think he's that stuff because he's using magic to trick them, or because they just refuse to believe it could be a dragon, or what?
I think they refused to believe that it could be a dragon, because there was one time where this dragon's starting to fall in love with this high school girl that's been visiting him, so he goes into town to try to hunt her down, look her up or whatever, and he gets stuck in a whole parade, so he climbs into one of the floats and pretends to be the scenery, and nobody believes that he's an actual real dragon. He's just part of the actual parade.
Well, that's a little clever. He's trying to blend in. What I meant when I brought that question up was because there's another book I read recently, scouting out for the show, called I don't remember what the first book is called, but the series is called Miss Pemberley's Dragons, I believe. Or Jane Austen's Dragons. It's supposed to be like Pride and Prejudice, but done with dragons. And the thing is, in that book, dragons exist, but they hide. Dragons are supposed to be super persuasive, borderline magically persuasive, because apparently the dragons whisper to people that I'm a cat, and people look at it and they will literally see a cat. So no one even notices there's dragons there. They keep seeing cats, they keep seeing hawks, they keep seeing horses, or whatever the dragon's telling people, this is what I am. There are a few people that can, understand dragons completely, like their language, and so when they're told, I'm a cat, they don't fall under the magical effect, and so when they see the dragon, they see the dragon. It's a very interesting world. It's built pretty nicely. I've only read the first book of the series, so we'll see how long the magic holds when I read more of it. But it'll probably make it onto the show at some point, at least the first book.
Huh.
But yeah, so going back, to the dragon falling in love with the human from the book you were talking about, what are your thoughts as Dilitan on dragon-human romance?
Unclean, heretical. No giant beast should have to romance something so weak and puny.
I mean, but what if the dragon's just the size of a horse, so it's not a giant beast? Like your size.
You gotta get your eyes checked there, buddy. Although you've seen some big horses.
Dilitan and I have been fighting over who's bigger.
Which is me, obviously.
No. Here, you know what? We'll let the listeners decide. Come stand against my back. Come over here. Okay. Just back to back, and we'll stand up, and we'll... Listeners, you tell us who's taller. Just look. Yeah?
Right, I'm trying, but you barely reach my haunches, man. Come on, get up there.
This fight's gonna go on for a while.
Oh, it's gonna go on forever. Not until I win. I will never back down. Never surrender.
Alright, so I could just play the bullshit card of, well, too bad I can shapeshift and I just make myself bigger. So
which is cheating.
It's cheating.
Listeners, shapeshifting is completely cheating.
Whatever.
Like if you agree.
There's nothing for them to like. I don't think there's a liking system on any of the podcast
I'm sure one
services.
of our hosting services has a like button. If you're listening on that one, give it a like.
No, they have like 5-star rating, but I don't think there's like thumbs up and thumbs downs.
Oh.
If we put it on YouTube, we could say give it a like.
Yeah, but we'll never see how much it got liked. Oh, no.
Anyway, so, Unclean, you do not approve of dragon-human romance?
No.
Again, your biggest complaint is that the dragon is too big. But theoretically, if the dragon was smaller, what would you think of it? Still unclean? Humans are too far below us?
It feels like it puts the dragon in the same position as a horse. It feels degrading to the dragon.
How is... Okay. I'm like, I don't know how that'd be degrading. It's a romance, not a servitude thing, but okay.
It depends. Okay, there's been from the worlds we've been exploring, it could either be like a very powerful bond or enslavement. There's never like an in-between.
Right, okay, we're not talking about dragon riders. We're talking about romance, actually falling in love.
I mean, I guess I could forgive it, depending on the circumstances, but I'd still view it as unclean.
So you think dragons should only be with dragons?
Or not necessarily get too romantic with humans.
Right, I'll let Bantam know.
He's half dragon and half bird. He doesn't count.
He doesn't count as anything?
Does it count?
I'm sure he loves hearing that.
He's above human. Way above human.
Alright, so I was going to make a little graphic and then put it on the subreddit that we've kind of been adopted by. That's going to have to wait till after the trip because I don't have time right now. But I'll ask you the question that I'm going to ask them, which is, what do you think is the best size difference between dragon and human? Whether they're being ridden or not, whether the dragons are in a society or wild animals, whatever, what do you think is the best size difference? Like, if you were a human and you would have run into a dragon, you would expect it to be this size.
I can't think of any actual measurements, so I'd say that the head of the dragon is as big as a human's body. From foot to head.
Yeah, this is why I was going to make a graphic before putting on the Reddit, because it's kind of hard to think like, 15 feet. Well, like, what does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess from media standpoint, I'd say the size difference between Bowen and Draco is ideal.
Okay. So, fairly large, but not overly so. Like,
yeah.
Technically, Smaug is too big.
Smaug that would be gigantic and beyond, not just large.
Wait till you find out how small Smaug is compared to the other dragons of that world.
I actually saw that, and there's some that are the size of goddamn mountains, which I'm also, like, why do they need to be that big?
Because it's terrifying? I have no idea.
It's not really terrifying. Like, that just borderlines ridiculousness, because if they just take, like, one step, all of a sudden the whole continent's going into an earthquake. Like, how do they just spend their whole life sleeping, because if they move, they destroy everything around them.
Yeah, there's actually a book series where the old dragons are large enough to be islands. And it's like, okay, alright, this is getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, like there's a certain threshold where it goes from being epic to just ridiculous.
It's like, how do you even interact at this point?
Exactly.
But alright, we already know your opinion on dragon riders. You hate them.
Exactly.
You refuse to ever have one. Which I feel like is just denying yourself a useful tool. But, to each dragon his own. And so, tell the viewers, is it true you cannot breathe fire?
It is true. As a matter of... So, my world, I'm staying away from fire breathing as far as dragons are concerned. Because I do view that as kind of a cliche.
The fact that every dragon breathes fire is a cliche?
Yes! You don't have to breathe fire to be a dragon.
I guess technically by definition that is a cliche, but it's like, it's a understood and accepted biological fact.
Yeah, but I also want dragons to do... work around the fire. Don't just like fly around and breathe flames. I mean, I want them to be creative. That's why I'm thinking about designing like a gauntlet system for my dragons to where they'll fly around and shoot javelins. with like wrist-mounted ballistas.
Oh, okay. This is. I'm trying to imagine it in my head, but it's a little weird. It's like, okay, all right. I don't know why when you said gauntlet.
It's a concept.
Yeah, when you said gauntlet, I was thinking like an energy gauntlet, like you won't get this, but maybe some listeners will, but like Ezreal from League of Legends. That's what I was imagining. And then you said wrist-mounted ballista. I'm like, wait a second. It's like, why would they need the gauntlet? Why not just carry a bow or a crossbow?
Because I feel like if they're airborne, trying to fire an arrow while flapping their wings would throw it completely off course.
But a gauntlet, not.
Well, no, because if you're gliding down, per se, of like a strafing motion, you could still, okay, it's a concept. It maybe got some flaws here and there. I'll work out the kinks later.
It's fine. I'm just helping pick your brain.
You're gonna find a lot of dust in there, man.
It's nothing but dust and cobwebs.
It really is. These gears haven't turned in a long time.
There's also a vacancy sign in here.
Okay, that's going too far, man. Come on.
All right. What is the average intelligence level of dragons in your world? Do they actually have a society, or do they live in caves?
They do have a functioning society, economics, trade, border, imperial borders. One faction does have working airships. They're basically the technological equivalent of World War One, while everybody else is stuck in the Renaissance.
So they have gunpowder.
Well, the Venom works as gunpowder, in a sense.
Okay, just because both Renaissance and World War One had gunpowder, I think. I think Renaissance had gunpowder. I'm not too familiar with human history.
The Renaissance was basic use of gunpowder, like muskets and cannons, while World War One had more.
Well, yeah, I know what World War One had. That was recent enough.
Yeah.
It was within a dragon's lifespan ago, so I know that.
Yeah, but the Renaissance was more basic flintlocks, with minor flintlocks and cannons are the only use of gunpowder aside from fireworks and such. Like ranged weaponry was very limited back then. They still relied heavily on crossbows and swords and the likes. Yeah.
Am I safe in assuming that anything you put in your world you prefer among others? Like, I don't know how to say this. Like, the fact that dragons in your world have a society and they don't live in caves, they actually have buildings and homes and stuff.
Yes.
Am I safe to assume that that means you prefer other worlds that have similar? Like, you hate it when dragons live in caves?
Yes, you are correct on that part.
Okay. So for the rest of these questions, I'm just going to assume whatever your world has is what you prefer amongst other ones.
Yes.
Okay. In your world, do dragons keep hordes?
I'm still debating that.
Like the average dragon, because like the imperial leader or whatever would obviously have like a treasury, which you could consider a horde, because that's just what rulers did. But like average dragon, Mr. Joe, who works in the foundry or whatever, does he have a horde at home that he goes home to?
Probably, I would say the lower class does it, the middle class does, and that's how they kind of measure their status amongst one another. And the larger class, obviously, are basically sleeping in rooms filled with gold.
Okay, so they still sleep on gold, then they don't have, like, mattresses.
Yes. But it's very similarly done in a tooth and claw style, to where only the wealthy, well, obviously only the wealthy have the hordes.
Yeah, only the wealthy can afford to have gold lying around rather than spent.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So you mentioned classes, so there's a class system. There are dragons in the lower class?
Yes. Mostly consisting of anthro-reptilians and traders and such.
So an anthro-reptilian is a dragon to you?
Yes, actually.
Okay. So in your world then, all dragons, or not all, but most would still have jobs. It's not like each dragon is a lord in his own right. They have servants and they never work themselves.
Say that again?
So in your world, dragons actually have jobs then. They actually have to perform labor?
Yes. Each species fits in its own caste in society, such as like the flyers. They take part in most of the logistics, flying messages to and from and carrying packages and such. There's strong anthro-reptilians, which are used for heavy labor. There's short little gecko-style reptiles who handle most of the trade, etc. It's still being built. But okay. I plan to make a species for every part of society to fill the niche.
Okay, I guess I should ask you, what do you consider to be a dragon? Since you said the Anthroptilians count as dragons, do the little geckos count as dragons too?
In this world, yeah, I'm using dragon as kind of like a loose species definition. Like
So
hominid.
as long as it has scales, it's a dragon.
As long as it has scales, and I will think of another identifying feature.
Because it almost sounds like any reptilian creature in your world you consider a dragon. Does that mean they all have wings, or...?
No. Only Dilitan species has wings.
Okay, Dilitan species is...
They're currently called flyers. I haven't come up with an actual dragon name for them yet.
Okay, and so the flyers would be what the common person thinks of when they hear dragon. 4 legs, 2 wings.
Yes.
Okay, but then like other things, for example, two legs, no wings, walks upright like a person, is only 6 feet tall. You're including that in your dragon species pool?
As so long as they're sentient and scaled, yes.
Okay. Alright, that's a little odd classification system, but I guess it can work. Helps the little man feel included, I guess.
Exactly.
I guess let's talk specifically only about the usual dragon types.
Okay.
Meaning the 4 legs and 2 wings, or perhaps even wyverns or koalas or whatever. Let's put the little anthro lizards and stuff aside for now, okay? Do the true blood dragons in your world, are they all high class, or are there some low class ones that have to labor as well?
Majority of them are high class, but there are some that were kind of born in unlucky lines without the wealth they need to rise up. So they had to take low career jobs and such.
Okay. What percentage of the population would be the true dragons? Like for every one true dragon, there is how many other people?
As far as you talk about the other species, the 2 legs, no wings?
Yeah. Like, I guess how rare are true dragons? Like, there's one rare, true dragon for every 1,000 of the lesser ones. Or like, what is your ratio?
Probably every 1 to 100.
1 to 100?
Yes.
Okay. And you already said your world has no magic whatsoever, or there's some that can use magic?
It's magic in the form of alchemy. I'm trying to design a character named Skalak, who functions as Dilitan's key alchemist, because there is a current plague going on that's introducing a whole new range of flora and fauna that, when combined, have special properties. But there isn't magic per se as you can focus and shoot fire out of your hands. Nothing like that. It's all chemical based.
Okay. And like, so the shooting fire out of your hand type, it doesn't exist anywhere in the world whatsoever.
No, I have a very strong opinion about magic of that sort. I always feel it kind of a writer's crutch.
It can be if you design it poorly. There's the difference between a soft magic and a hard magic system, which I won't get into right now. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain it to you later.
I think I have an idea. It's like soft magic, anything goes. Hard magic has a very specific set of rules and circumstances where it'll work.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah, I never liked soft magic My Little Pony style. It's like, I had a spell that does this exact thing we need. Boom, done. Problem resolved.
Yeah, it is definitely much harder to write with. So your kingdom will be very easy to invade then if you have no magic. It's good to know.
We got guns, cannons, and airships. Good luck. And all our bullets are incendiary based.
So that's the Dragon's Fire Breath in your world is incendiary bullets.
Actually, yes.
Okay. How do you feel about other worlds where magic does exist?
Depending on how it's structured, if it's got a firm rule based where no just weird shenanigans can happen out of the middle of nowhere, I don't mind that. But if you can pull out an Deus Ex Machina from your ass and just fix whatever you want with the wave of your hand, I can't stand that because it just feels lazy.
Yeah, and then you definitely have some unanswered questions like, wait, why didn't I do this at the beginning?
Exactly. It just creates way more problems than it solves.
It certainly can, yeah. In fact, my used-to-be favorite series, no longer my favorite, it's been demoted. I'm sorry, fans of the series, deal with it. But Wings of Fire.
Oh, no.
It's a magic system. Animus magic. Basically, the caster, the Animus, just says something and it happens. So it's like the softest magic system ever, right? So the author actually completely wrote it out of her story in like the last book or so. So it's gone, so there can actually be conflict now.
So it's essentially the My Little Pony magic system. You can just say whatever you want done, and it'll happen.
I guess the difference between My Little Pony, they can just imagine it. They just do it. There wasn't really any incantations, I don't think. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Well, I'll talk about Wings of Fire on a later episode, which is going to be a nightmare as it is, because 17 books. I don't think I can get Dilitan to read 17 books in 3 months.
Are you fucking nuts? No. That's like 2 books. That's a book every other day.
What? 17 books in 3 months?
Oh, 3 months. I think you said 1 month.
I mean, we could do it in 1 month if you want.
We let's not say we did.
We'll probably have to divide it by arcs. I don't know. Can you do 5 books in 2 weeks?
That's more.
Yeah. Like I said, we're going to figure it out. So, Dilitan's world, your world, what kind of planet is it? Is it pretty varied, like Earth, where there's different biomes everywhere, or is it kind of focused on one biome type, kind of like how Dune, Arrakis, is just a desert world?
Varied biomes. As far as there's temperate, desert, and Arctic.
Okay. What biome does Dilitan come from?
Temperate.
Okay. So pretty basic.
More or less, yeah. I haven't really gone into detail with the biomes just yet.
I mean, it's not really super important. It's kind of nice flavoring. I don't know why, but like before, like years ago when you would tell me the story of where you came from, I always imagined the entire place as just a giant desert planet.
It's because I tried to describe the palace as a ziggurat?
I think it's because you were completely infatuated with Egyptian architecture.
That's because Egyptians are badass, okay?
Yeah. In your world, do dragon colors mean anything? Scale color?
No, but every single flyer does have a facial insignia, kind of like Dilitan, and that determines what line of family you're from.
Okay. Is that born, or is that like tattooed in?
It's a family birthmark, so it's born in.
So your entire family, your parents, your brother Durandal, your children, eventually when you have them, they'll have the exact same face markings as you.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. And I'm sorry, I must have missed the detail. So you said that they have markings and such, but did the colors mean anything? Did I miss that?
Colors do not, no.
Okay, so Dilitan is a red dragon. His parents could have been green and blue, or is it like every dragon on that world is red?
Well, no, color does come from the parents themselves, but it doesn't really have any social significance.
Okay, so your family is just a family of red dragons, but
yes.
like there's also a family of blue dragons, but they're no different than you biologically.
Correct.
Right. Because like in a world with a fire breath, sometimes blue dragons would breathe lightning and white would breathe ice and all that. So the scale color actually matters somewhat. It also usually affects the biome they can live in. But in yours, not at all. None whatsoever.
Well, I'm thinking about doing something to where it'll affect them biologically. Like, say, black dragons will have very thicker scales and harder armor. Maybe something like white dragons have longer wingspans, are able to glide faster. Something of that regard. But
so you do actually want to differentiate the species a bit, but just not to the elemental effect that other worlds have.
Yes, but I'm starting to discover that it's very limiting considering there's only so much I can differentiate without having the elements breath effect. Like, yeah. I could probably give some of them, like, different venom effects, but as far as body changes, there's not really a lot that can be done without it being significant to really matter.
Give your white dragon 6 wings, make them bigger, and call them seraphim.
Okay, I have a very big pet peeve about multiple wings. I don't know how in the hell they work. They
just do.
They don't. They shouldn't. By the laws of physics, they shouldn't.
Well, multiple wings can work somewhat. You'd have to change the bone structure a bit, but like certain insects technically have multiple pairs of wings, like dragonflies. So it can work somewhat, but just not to the extent that like I guess cartoons and anime does it. I guess, but this is a fantasy world, and we don't need to follow logic completely.
I do. It makes it more immersive. And I will argue that to my deathbed. Just because of fantasy doesn't mean you need to ignore basic laws of reality. Because if you follow them, it makes it more believable. And that's what I want to achieve when I try to write Dilitan's story.
Yeah, verisimilitude. It can, definitely to an extent. But people that read fantasy, not all of them, but there's a good chunk of people who read fantasy, they do it because they like seeing the differences. Otherwise, it's basically just a fancy historical fiction.
I'm going to go so far as to call it historical fiction. I usually try to read them, watch, read, play, whatever, just to escape reality.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the fantastical worlds can be fun.
Until they get too goofy.
I mean, everyone's got a different threshold.
Yeah.
Yours is apparently really low.
I call it, I consider it mid-grade at least.
My threshold is kind of the tier that Final Fantasy is usually at, where you have magic and technology working together, but then people can block bullets with swords. That's my threshold. That's what I can enjoy that. I can buy that, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
That just makes no sense, though.
It doesn't have to.
It kind of does. When I was playing Final Fantasy with you guys, I had so many goddamn questions about how all of this was supposed to work.
It just does. Look, you're talking about a world with giant flying reptiles. Do we need to get into aerodynamics and why that's impossible?
I could go
just
into
like
the
the bee.
No, the bee can power through it. So can a dragon, because it's a dragon.
Yeah. Right. So, like, circling back to scale color, because it is inherited. It's a gene thing. Your entire family is red scaled, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If a blue and a red dragon were to mate, would their child be purple, or would it be like red and blue striped, or would it be one or the other, kind of 50-50 shot?
I've thought about that. I've always wanted to try to work in like color mixing.
Mixing like it's got both red and blue in various patterns, or mixing like it's purple?
It's a little of both, but I haven't been able to decide on it yet. Because...
Well, you don't need to until the first hybrid shows up. After you write Dilitan's story, you can then have a side character, like a book. Like if Dilitan's story was a trilogy, you can then have book 4 be a side character who is like the first hybrid and it's like some forbidden romance type of thing or whatever.
Well, funny enough, Dilitan's heir is going to be a hybrid between him and a sea dragon, and I need to figure out how to get that to work. So this is actually a good time now to structure it, because the way I'm going to write it is, excuse me, through the eyes of each of Dilitan's heirs. It's going to start with Dilitan, then go into his son Raytek, and so on and so forth.
Okay, when does Ray show up?
You're not part of the family. You were adopted, so you're technically not in the bloodline. The
church, I invaded and just tricked you into adopting me.
The church will never accept your rise to power anyway.
It's fine. I'm just getting your secrets so I come back with my people.
And they will meet our guns, which I will keep bringing up.
But again, remember I said I can block them with swords?
That is cheating as fuck.
So you have sea dragons then?
Yes.
Okay, so you have the true dragon, the Western, let's call it the Western.
Yeah.
And you have sea dragons. Do you have other major dragon types like the Wyvern or the Eastern dragon, the Long? Anything like that?
I do have Eastern dragons. They're going to be kind of focused on religion and clergy aspects. Wyverns...
See, now that's a cliche. And you tell me you hate cliches, but then you're doing that.
I didn't know what else to put in that spot.
I still say make the white dragon 6-winged, call them seraphim, and make them the clergy.
But it won't fly. If you're gonna have wings, you gotta be able to fly. Physics, man. It exists for a reason.
Okay, so your Eastern dragons, the things that don't have wings, do they fly?
No.
Oh, you've grounded them.
They are very long noodle boys that are very in touch with the two gods.
The two gods? There's only two?
Yes.
Are they married? Is there a man and a woman and they're married?
It is the mother and father of all things. The father was the one that created the earth. The mother was the one that created the life that inhabits it.
Yeah, most I don't know if it's a real word, but I'm going to say duotheistic mythologies tend to be a mother and father figure. You don't want to have a pantheon of like 17 gods and 35 demigods running around?
I don't have the mental aptitude to create that much, so it's just going to stay 2 for now.
All right. Are their symbols the sun and the moon?
Oh, shit, that's a good one.
That's another cliche, though.
Now, you know what? The father symbol will be the earth, and the mother symbol will be the egg.
Why is the father the earth?
Because that is what he shaped for all to live on.
Ah, it's just the house he built.
Yes.
Okay, so your gods have magic, but your civilians don't.
I never said they were real. This is just more so legends passed on to the hatchling that taught in the church.
All right, well, tell the listeners right now, in your world, are they real? Could someone technically go talk to them?
They can pray to them.
Oh, anybody can pray to anything. Are they real in your world?
If you went to a very specific place, you can talk to them.
All right, so they're real.
In a sense, yes.
What do you mean by in a sense?
I don't know. If I talk about this, I go into spoiler territory. But
spoilers for the book that's not yet written.
You know what? It's probably a book that's never going to be written. I'm going to be perfectly honest. So I will go ahead and spoil it now. The dragons that inhabit this world are colonists from a crashed ship that landed several hundred years ago. And the mother and father on the onboard AIs that released the colonists from cryostasis upon crashing.
Okay. And I'm assuming they've lost that history?
Yes.
And I'm guessing the DD figures is like what? They go the specific places they go to the crash ship and they just talk to the AI?
No, you cannot reach it without dying. Because, as I mentioned a few podcasts, I think it was when we talked about Avenger, where we got into the small details about the world, I mentioned a kind of fungal plague. At the center of that is where the ship crashed. The radiation started leaking and thus created this eldritch forest that has been spreading ever since. So There's no way to reach the ship.
Okay, so Dragon Chernobyl.
Pretty much.
All right. That's pretty interesting. Did the original species, whoever lived there before this crash ship thing, did they have their own pantheon? That just, I guess, doesn't exist anymore because the dragons wiped out the knowledge of it or whatever?
No, the avian nomads were the original inhabitants of the world. I haven't really fleshed out their religion too much. I was probably going to base it somewhere. I was going to base it around the Native American beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
like spirits and all that?
Yes.
All right. Okay. All the other small things, like you mentioned, like the anthropoptilians and the geckos and all that, did they come with the dragons? Were they already here, or were they like biologically engineered after the fact?
I kind of like the biologically engineered part. But then it wouldn't make sense, because if they were able to do something like that to lose all their history and revert back to a Renaissance era, wouldn't really make much sense. They had to...
I mean, they're already falling back from space travel age.
I mean, yeah. No, I will say that they were servants that accompanied the dragons on the ship, and they in turn remained servants throughout the construction of the actual empire.
Okay. So, in your story then, I think we've covered most of, like, the world itself. I can't really think of any of the questions to ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in your story, what does Dilitan's timeline look like?
As far as, like, from birth to death?
Kind of, sort of.
So, his birth was nothing special. Came within a royal family. His father taught him what he needed to know to run the kingdom. And when he finally ascends to the throne, that's when the Eldritch Forest, for lack of a better term, that's what I'm going to call it, that's when it starts appearing, and then his generals start questioning his ability to actually fight this threat. So,
wait, hold on. So how long ago did the ship crash if the forest is just starting?
Several hundred years ago.
Alright, so pretty recent. Do the dragons know that they're not from here then?
No.
They do not. How long is dragon lifespan?
60 years.
Oh, pretty normal. Okay. So 5-7 generations and they lost the knowledge already?
Yes.
Okay.
So after the Eldritch Forest emerges, the generals start questioning his ability because Dilitan doesn't really want to go on an offensive push into this just ever-absorbing mass, because any troops he sends into it get lost and basically could come back to fight him. So he secures his borders and fortifies it with every resource available to the Empire. The generals get tired of sitting on their asses, so Bayanil, a black dragon, leads a coup and exiles Dilitan and starts conscripting the hell out of every single available man and woman who's willing to fight, and starts trying to push back the Eldritch Forest. This causes a massive cascade effect, and they start losing village after village, and the border starts shrinking rapidly. So Dilitan seeks the assistance of the Fire Serpents, the ones with the incendiary weapons, to take back the throne and join them on the fight to push the forest back. However, Dilitan, when trying to reclaim his throne, dies fatally on a final confrontation with Bayanil, and his son Raytek takes the throne.
Main character death.
Yes. The Fire Serpent Dilitan he is going to be the one that writes the final entry in Dilettant's journal. Because what I wanted to do was actually write this in a journal format every day of interests cataloged. And then when it gets to the final one, the Admiral would instruct Dilettant's son Raytek on what happened and have him write the final entry in his father's journal.
If you had wrote this book, the entire book was going to be done journal style?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I'm pretty sure it's been done, but I've never seen it. I've never seen a book that's been done that way.
I want to say it's very done rarely. I got inspired from World War Z and how it was structured. It was just like a list of interviews of survivors from the zombie apocalypse. And I never read something like that before. And I was like, huh.
That is a very unique writing style.
It kept me interested. Instead of just going from chapter to chapter, you go to different points of interest or different events. I guess.
Do you keep a journal in real life?
No, I try to, and I forget I have it.
I feel like you should just for the sake of practicing.
That actually is a good idea, but nothing interesting happens.
Dear diary, today I had to fly 200 goddamn miles to live in these goddamn Twinkies.
First off, it's not Twinkies; it's Christmas tree cakes.
Oh, whatever. I don't know then what Little Debbie calls their stuff.
Not Twinkies. That's our main competitor Hostess.
Yeah, I know it's Hostess. The point is, I don't know any. The only pastries I know are Twinkies, Ding Dongs, Honey Buns, and there's one called Snowballs, right?
Okay, 3 out of the 4 of those are all Hostess. We're Honey Buns. The Little Debbie is like the main Honey Bun guy.
Oh, I thought Honey Buns were also Hostess, but whatever.
They do it shittily. We do ours better.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, if you believe it, listeners, Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes around this time, people absolutely batshit insane for them. My manager jokes about them being laced with cocaine in the icing. That is not entirely.
Do you swear it's just a joke?
It's just a joke. If any, I doubt the executives are listening, but it is just a joke. But to be fair, they buy the shit out of them, and Ray's never had one, so I'm going to make him eat one when he comes here.
Yep, going down to Florida. He's going to feed me drug-laden cakes.
Hey, you got to get the Florida experience.
I have to be on drugs while in Florida 100% of the time. God, I hope a hurricane hits over there. Just get the full experience. I'm gonna start my rain dance now.
Please no. It's already a pleasant day scheduled. You're gonna ruin it.
Alright, so back to your world, I guess. That was a fun tangent, though. I keep calling them the true dragons because you keep including everything under the tag dragon. How large are the true dragons?
I can't really measure by size, though, like as far as feet wise. So,
I guess a normal 6-foot tall person would come up to their what?
Probably their
shoulder.
Not the shoulder, but I guess the knee and the forelimb. What would you call that? Elbow? Still?
Technically, it depends if you consider an arm or a leg. Those dragons, can they rear up on their hind legs or haunches and use their front limbs as hands to interact with things?
Yes.
I would call that an elbow then.
Okay, so they will come up to the elbow of the forelimb.
Okay. So I guess to these little people, the cities must be massive because they have to be able to house dragons this large.
The structures that house the dragons are themselves large, but there are districts made for the smaller races.
I was going to say, I imagine that the city, for the most part, like the downtown area, the palace, the temple, market square, all that, like the main city, would be full-on dragon size. So all these buildings are just freaking massive. And then basically the suburbs/slums would be all the smaller buildings, kind of just built around the dragon structures.
More or less, yeah. What I was thinking about doing was having the smaller races built around these large spires designed to house the dragon families themselves. Kind of Judge Dredd mega complex style.
No idea what that is, but okay.
It's a sci-fi dystopian. Basically, in the middle of the cities, there's this large 500-story mega structure that shoots past the clouds. And that's where most of the population lives. So I was thinking something along those lines to house for the quote-unquote true dragons to live in.
So the true dragons live in giant towers?
Yes.
They don't really have infrastructure out in the main city because they have their tower?
More or less. Some have plantations and fields they see over out in the wilderness or out in the wild, out in the fields and such. but majority of them that handle trade and logistics and have their own companies mostly reside in the large towers in the main city.
Okay. What do dragons eat on your world? Will they actually hunt the populace from time to time?
I'm bordering yes or no. I haven't really fully decided if they're going to eat their servants or not. Probably yeah, but not as a main diet per se. I've been trying to figure out, trying to design his own special domesticated animal, like a giant chicken raptor hybrid that would serve as the main source of meat for most of the dragons.
Right, it makes sense they would farm stuff, but I guess the idea is, are they open to eating other sentient life?
It depends on the circumstances, but yes. They're not just going to open up and be like they get bored and just snatch someone off from the streets or anything. No, nothing along that lines.
Not quite so tyrannical.
No, but like say if a servant does commit what would be considered a capital offense, their master does get to choose what punishment befits them.
Okay. If you had to assign Dilitan a D&D alignment, what would it be?
Probably chaotic neutral.
Chaotic neutral?
Yeah.
Right. So you don't consider him to be evil. He's not a tyrant, is he?
No, but he is very self-centered. If
okay.
that matters in any way for the alignment, because I can't remember.
A normal self-centered individual would usually be neutral evil, but you trying to swing it towards chaotic neutral kind of fits in with the... Well, hold on. Was Dilitan a part of the rebellion? Or was he rebelled against? I can't remember now.
He was rebelled against by the generals, exiled,
Okay.
and then rebelled against the general to take back his throne.
Well, I wouldn't call it a re-rebel. I think it's just a... I don't know what the term is, but he's just trying to just... No, it's not an uprising. It's not a rebellion because he's the, quote, rightful ruler trying to retake his place. I don't consider that a rebellion. It's more like he's trying to quell the resistance that has technically won already.
I mean, I guess if you want to word it like that, you can.
I mean, yeah, I don't know all the nuances of it, but it almost sounds like Dilitan might actually be neutral evil. Alright, so, in real life, you eat nothing but chicken.
Yes.
Is the Dilitan dragon the same?
Yes. That's why I'm specifically designing dragon-sized chickens for him to eat.
Alright, any other information that you want to share?
Not that I can really think of. That's not really none that's relevant anyway.
Okay.
Because there are a few other small bits and pieces here and there, some of the stuff Dilitan might encounter, but that's about it.
Do actual humans exist in this world?
No.
Womp womp. Our Dragon Rider listeners are going to be sad.
Sorry, but there is no human hominids of any kind unless they have scales or feathers. It is a furry world.
He said the word.
I said the word.
There's no going back now.
Committed.
Okay. Nothing else I want to share. You have completely given up on NaNoWriMo, right?
As far as reaching the word count, yes, but I'm still going to try to do my personal goal of fleshing out Dilitan's world.
Okay. When you finish writing that, we will find a way to share it with the listeners. I was attempting NaNoWriMo, but some personal matters came up, and I've had to skip a whole week and a half. I hopefully will get back into it, but I don't think I'll hit the 50,000 word goal at this point either. But yeah, hopefully I will be able to share what I managed to get out.
Yeah, that 50,000 word goal, you gotta assume nothing goes on for a whole month. And this is one of the busiest months. It's fucking Thanksgiving.
Well, the thing, it's not that much, I guess. It depends on how much time you sit there just staring at the screen going wait, what do I write next? Because the first day when I started, I managed to write the prologue to my story from start to finish. I think it took me 45 minutes, and it was 1,300 and something words, which is only a little bit shy of the daily goal of 1,667. That's the average daily amount you'd have to write to hit 50,000 words after the month. So it's not that bad. I guess the biggest problem is you have to force yourself through these little bouts of wait, what do I do next? You have to kind of just force through it and come back to refine it afterwards. And I think that's the whole point of the challenge, is to just get something on paper. Even if it's bad, it's at least on paper. It's easier to fix than it is to create.
I don't know, but I get stuck in like a infinite fixing loop to where it's after I'm done, it's not even remotely close to what I started with originally. That's why I try to make a habit never to reread what I've written, which it can be a very bad one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But even if I do, I start catching myself over editing and over correcting and over judging. I'm very critical about what I do.
I'm critical about what you do too.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I just have a problem with sharing my opinions and everything.
Wait, we didn't shit on Tolkien yet. It's not an episode unless you shit on Tolkien.
Tolkien's a bad writer.
All right, now it's a podcast episode.
All right, so thank you for joining us for our deep dive into the chaotic mind that is Dilitan.
I hope you didn't get lost, because I sure did.
We will be back to our normal schedule next episode, where we will be doing, I think it's pronounced Drakon.
Yes, Drakon.
Okay. Yep, the two games, the PC one and the PlayStation 2 one.
I do have the physical copy of the PlayStation 2, and I will be giving a full review on that as well.
All right,
so I actually still have a functioning PS2.
Yep, I gotta get playing on those. Like I haven't even installed them yet, but it's like, okay, whatever.
I installed it for you.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess technically, but like I haven't unpacked it yet from the zip.
Listen to unpack. You just slap it. You're done.
I know how easy it is to unpack. Shut up. The point is, I haven't even really started on it yet, and I need to.
Yes, you do.
I've just been too busy dealing with work in preparation for the vacation and all that, which is why we took a break this episode and just had a fun little conversation about. You didn't even say what the name of your planet was, did you?
It doesn't have a name.
World.
Honestly, that's good. That's a good placeholder.
Coming to theaters 2027.
Like I can't really think. I don't really know what would be as far as. Okay, here's what I'm trying to say. Like worlds are named by the people that inhabit it, so I don't really know what they would call it besides
come up with a rudimentary draconic language and then name it that language's version of settlement, outpost, new port, new home, depending on the reason why they traveled there in the first place.
Oh man, I forgot about languages. That's gonna be fun.
It's also one of those details you can probably glance over because most it would be safe to assume that they're speaking their draconic language, but you, the author, have translated it into English.
Exactly.
For the readers. So it's not that big a deal unless you start getting into weird naming conventions, like if you were to name the planet New Home or whatever in Draconic, then that's kind of the only time it really matters.
Yeah, because they wouldn't really refer to it as anything else but our world in context. So the name casually wouldn't even remotely. There's a very slim chance of it coming up.
Yeah. Like for the book I was attempting to write, I had to come up with some rudimentary language rules, at least like grammar-wise. Like when I need it, I can just make up a word, but I had to at least come up with a very rudimentary set of rules for the grammar so that I can be consistent. I had to do that because the magic system was based on the old original dragon language. Like the incantations you have to do to get the magic to work are spoken in the old dragon tongue.
Right.
So, and the main character, the point of view that the reader is in for most of it, doesn't know the language, and so I had to actually have it verbalized as a different language. Because I was doing a first person, whatever the opposite of omniscient is. No, not first person. First person would be I. So it's third person, not omniscient, whatever that word is.
Not omniscient? I don't know. I've never even heard of any of that being called anything before.
Well, okay, so third person omniscient means that you use the words he when referring to your main character rather than I. But omniscient means that the narrator can peek into anybody else's mind at any time to let the reader know what they're thinking or feeling.
Oh, okay.
The opposite of that, I don't remember what the word is, but it's you will only ever know the thoughts and feelings and emotions of the main character.
That would be just, I guess, strict first person?
I don't know. Again, first person's I. If you read a book where the narrator says I went and did this and then I saw this other thing happen, that's first person.
Okay.
I think it's called third person limited is the point of view writing style. Because he's limited to his own view.
Then wouldn't that be if third person limited, would that just be talking to the main character in third person as a narrator's perspective, but just focusing on that character specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a really weird way to say it, but yeah. Anyway.
The gears are starting to smoke. I think it's time we end the episode.
Yeah. So next time we're going to be doing Drakon, the video games, in 2 weeks. And then the episode after that, Dilitan wanted to do Raya and the Last Dragon. Correct?
Yes. It's very behind schedule on that one. I know it came out like quite a few months ago. I think it was like last year, wasn't it?
I mean, we're behind schedule on a lot of things because, I mean, Age of Fire came out 6 years ago.
Not, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I wanted us to try to stay on new Dragon releases and be the first ones on the scene.
That would be great. But we got some catching up to do first.
Yeah. But yeah, after Drakon, we'll be doing Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah. After that, we'll probably do another video game just because it's new. I'm still thinking about it, but then we'll get back to some books.
Woohoo!
Which I'm pretty sure is what everybody is here for, is the books.
Oh, yeah, man.
If I had a way to get a hold of, like, all the listeners, like, if we had our own subreddit, which I don't think we really need right now, but if we had our own, just release a poll, do you prefer books, movies, or games? I'm just curious. Hey, let us know in our email. Do you like the books, movies, or games better?
Yeah, reach us. Our email.
What is our email?
You know what? This is supposed to be my episode. You let me know specifically on Telegram at Dilitan which you prefer, or on Discord, Dilitan Ridhomi, RIDHOMI, #1779. I'm stealing the episode. But Ray, if they don't want to talk to me specifically, where can they reach us?
I'm pretty sure, like, because Bantam handles all the...
Yeah, he does, and he's not here. Shit.
The social. Okay, I'm like searching my chat history with him. So the email is wodpodcastmail@gmail.com. So WODPODCASTMAIL@gmail.com. I will also put the links in the show notes. You should be able to see them on whatever podcasting listening service you use. We also have a Twitter, which is @officialwadpod, and a Patreon, World of Dragons podcast. All right, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
All right, take it easy, everyone. Sorry for confusing the fuck out of you with my thoughts.
Goodbye.